G'day, ripperz. Hope everybody's had a cracker of a week. Well, unfortunately, the weather is not getting any better. It's all over the place. It's very frustrating. We've got strong north winds and we've had a lot of rain in the last week. We've had over 100 mils in 2 days. So the rivers are chalky again, and that north wind always shuts the fish down in my experience. So yeah, no fishing this week, but gives me a chance to get out into the shed. A few of you guys have been asking about the my Mangrove Jack gear, so we're just going to go in a little bit more depth of what I actually use. I always, give you guys a quick look when I'm making the actual videos, but this is going to be a little bit more in depth from what reels, rods I use, what lures I like, hard bodies, soft plastics, and also any recommendations for gear and all that type of stuff. So stay tuned. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Please like, share, and chuck in some comments below. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. We're gonna hit 4K next year, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, so let's get into it. So let's just quickly touch base about global warming. It's a thing. Wow, everyone's like, oh, some people don't believe in it. I think if you don't believe in global warming, there is something mentally wrong with you. But anyway, basically, jacks, and we're actually even catching barramundi on the Gold Coast. So, if that's not global warming, then I don't know what is. But basically, all the mangrove jacks, they're all pushing down further the coast. I think you can even get them down Coffs Harbour, even maybe Port Macquarie is as far as they probably go. But yeah, as that water warms up down the coast, we're going to see a lot more north species, barramundi, jacks. They're all going to start pushing down. So the point of me saying this is it depends where you are. So this video is not going to help everybody. I live on the north coast, and that's a complete different fishery than up north Queensland. So saying that, what does that mean? So basically what I'm trying to say is North Queensland has different structure to where I live on the north coast. So this video is not going to be for everybody. It depends where you live, and its circumstances change in what structure and environment you are fishing in. So I live on the north coast, so I've grown to adapt to fish for jacks how I fish for them around here. But if you go up north coast, all the way up in North Queensland, they're going to be a completely different fishery. If you've seen like Drew M, Mentos, he skip casts his prawns and his frogs into the mangroves. Now, where I live, we don't have mangroves like that. I just call them like mangrove fingers, where the roots of the actual mangrove go in a nice deep bit of water. And the mangroves jacks like to sit in there on the higher tide. They chase all the bait up in there and the prawns and have a good old time munch up in there. But on the north coast, we don't have any of that. Our mangroves are pretty much high up on the bank, and the only mangroves are on sand flats, and it's super, super shallow. So even though they're called a mangrove jack, doesn't mean they're going to be in the mangroves. So North Queensland, you're looking at those shallow banks with the mangrove fingers in it, and then you skip your weedless plastics and all that up into it, because the jacks will like to hide up in there, smashing all the prawns and stuff. You start heading down to the Gold Coast. The jacks have adapted to live on the pontoons, deep channels and rock walls. Again, there's not many mangroves like that up in the far Queensland. So as you go down the coast, it's all completely different. So the fish are going to adapt living in those areas. So you guys need to adapt how you fish. So up north coast is completely different than where we are now. So the Gold Coast pontoons, rock walls, heaps of current, eddies, all that type of stuff. When you're coming down the coast to where I live just under the Gold Coast, you're more looking for rock walls, deeper rock walls with good current going past it, falling down timbered banks. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But basically, you just need to go out, figure out where the fish are sitting, and just keep on smashing them. So like I said, this video mightn't be for everyone. It depends where you are, but that's a general kind of gist of it. So let's get on to what reels I use and the rods. Okay, so reels, I going to go through my gear. So I like high-end gear. I fish a lot, so I can justify spending good money on good gear, and I recommend if you are serious about your fishing, save up that bit of extra money and just buy good quality gear. So if you can't afford it, all good. You don't need expensive gear to catch fish. It's just nicer to use good gear. It's lighter. You can fish all day with it, and generally you have no problems with them. So generally speaking, I use Shimano Twin Powers. This is a 4,000 size, so you can go buy any 4,000 size that's in your budget, so you don't have to buy this reel. Twin Powers, amazing. Expensive, but well worth the money. Really, really good. So you want a 4,000 size, in my opinion, for jacks. Good reel, so you can swap it over and catch jewfish. Big flathead, thread fin, heaps of those bigger predatory fish. 4,000's all you need, in my opinion, in the estuary. Any bigger than, unless you're chasing sharks, you don't need anything bigger than a 4,000. I spool up with 20-pound braid. Normally go Daiwa J braid in the 4. That's just my personal preference. I've been running that for a few years. Bit sweaty. I've been running the 4X Daiwa J braid for a few years. Never had any troubles with it. Love it. So again, it depends what braid you're into, but that's what braid I run. I run 20-pound braid, and I always run a 20-pound leader. Anything more than that, I might chuck a 30 on if I'm chasing them on a glide bait or a very expensive bait, but 20-pound, I've only been dusted a couple of times, so I think 20 pounds are all you need. Leaders, I use FC Rock. You can get it from BCF. I've been running this stuff for years, and it's great. Good value for money. It's at BCF, so you can get it everywhere. And honestly, it's really nice leader for the money. It's smooth, doesn't hold much memory. It's really, really good. So I'll run probably about 3/4 of a rod length. Depends where you're fishing. If you're fishing rock bars, you probably want a bit longer. Obviously, as soon as braid hits the rocks, it's all over. But that's the leader I use. Let's get on to my baitcaster. All right, so that's still obviously set up for a jack session I had not too long ago. But for one of my baitcasters, I use a Shimano Corrado DC. That's a 150 HG. So HG means high gearing. So basically, to throw out, you get hit, I can wind up that slack real quick, and the reel picks it up. So that's what the HG is. So I think I'd recommend definitely a high gearing ratio baitcaster. Shimano Corrados, I absolutely love them. The DC, I mean, it doesn't really do that much, to be honest. For the extra money, I'd just run a normal Corrado. But again, 20-pound braid, 20-pound leader is all I fish for my jacks. And my other baitcaster I use that you guys have been asking about a lot is a Concept Z Slide. Z2, sorry. So, do I like these reels? Yes, I do like them. I always wanted a 13. I just thought everyone liked them, and they run with no bearings or ceramic bearings, so they don't rust. It's quite smooth. I don't think the slide mechanism, I don't think it does anything at all. Same as the DC. It doesn't really do much. It's more of a gimmick for them to sell and spend your extra money on them. But honestly, unless you're really starting out, the DC, that's why I've got that DC, because when I first started using the baitcasters, that's what I used. And it does help to a bit, but, like anything, you just got to keep practicing casting with them. But, it's been a great reel for me. It's nice and smooth. Obviously, I keep all my stuff in good condition, so this is a couple of years old, and it looks absolutely brand new. But it's got massive drag on this. I think it's about 12 kilos or something. So it's real hard to find a little compact baitcaster with big drag. So that's why I bought that. The Corrado's only got about 5 kilos, 5.5 kilos. But to be honest, you lock that up and that should be more than enough. Like, I caught a 1.2 barra on that little Corrado and I got it in no problem. So, but I did buy this because I've always wanted one, and it's, if we go up to the port of Brizzy chasing big threadies, big Jew, I've got that extra drag. But yeah, good reel. I do recommend them. Angler's Warehouse definitely have these on sale. I've paid full retail, which is about $480 for it. So it is a bit of an expensive bit of kit. But they do have half prices. I've seen them down for $240, which is insane. So I personally think for almost $500, I'd probably be looking at something a bit different. But if you can get them for half price when they have the specials, definitely jump all over it. Good little reel. Let's get on to the rods. Okay, so rods. So again, this is what I like to use, but generally a 3 to 6 kilo spinning rod is all you need. And also baitcaster rods, 3 to 6 kilo, around that. Anything more than that, 8 to 10 kilos, they're just too big and heavy for the estuary. You don't need it. Like I've lost hardly any fish on a 3 to 6 kilo rod. Those 8 to 10 kilo rods are more of offshore chasing snapper and that type of thing, but they're real stiff, real thick, and like you just can't feel much at all, and I just think it's way too much. So yeah, 3 to 6 kilo. I use Shimano X Prides. So all my rods are around the 7'2", so that way you get a little bit more castability with it as well, but you get a bit more of a sensitive tip, so you can feel a lot more as well. But yeah, the X Prides are really, really lovely rods. That's why I bought another one, and that teamed up with my Twin Powers are just an absolute killer. So a few other rods to look at would definitely be a Poison Adrena. Shimano and Jackal got together and made a rod. I use the smaller ones for my brim gear, but really fantastically made. Also check out the Daiwa in-feet range. I think they have a few different in-feets. I like the more expensive ones. Really, really nice to pick up and play with them as well. Ian Miller, obviously, his rods are really lovely too. But yeah, you know, check out some Shimano stuff. Honestly, they make really, really nice gear. And I've been running Shimano for years now, and the customer service and their quality of everything they do is bloody good. So I've never made the decision to swap over to anything else, because if it works for you, then don't change. Baitcaster. So yeah, Baitcaster rod here. I run edge rods for these, Black Widows. So yeah, about a 3 to 6 kilo. That's 7 foot, 7'2". A few guys asked about the edge rods. They are very, very expensive. They're about $700 to $750 just for the rod. Do I think it's worth the money? No. In short, I don't think they're worth that much money at all. They're okay. I mean, I do like them. You can pick them up and you can feel the quality. I love the hand woven handles that they do. And, you know, like, they're nice. They've got metal little eyelets there, little recoils. So if you walk on it, they just bounce back. So you can't really break an eyelid on them. I've had no troubles with them. I'm not saying they're a bad product. I'm just saying they're very, very expensive. And I think for that money that you could get 2 really good baitcaster rods, like 2 X Pride baitcaster rods for the price of 1 edge rod. So good thing with edge, if you do break it, I think you give them a couple of $100 and they'll replace it anyway. But yeah, I bought them because a lot of other people that use them absolutely froth on them, and I thought I'll join them. But you know, I'll use them until I break them. Will I replace them with new edge rods? Absolutely not. I would definitely be looking at more X Prides, and it's just you're not getting double price tag. You're not getting double the quality, nowhere near. And especially if you're jack fishing. Like, once you get a hit from a jack on a lure, you know it's a jack. Like, it's not like you're finessing them out. Like, if they want it, they're going to smack it. So yeah, 3 to 6 kilo rods is all you need. Around that 7 foot, 7'2". Again, Ian Miller, Daiwa in-feets, they all do baitcaster range. Shimano's got some really good baitcaster range. I think $300 and up for a rod, then you're starting to really step up into some really good quality. And same again with reels. Like baitcaster reels, you got to spend the money on them. They're very compact and a lot goes into them in designing them. That's why they're a little bit more expensive. But like I said, try and buy the best quality as you can. If you can, buy Japan. Japanese, everything in the world is the best. So that's rod and reels done, leaders done. So let's get on to a few of the lures that I like to chuck around for the old red dogs. So we'll start with the Topwater and then we'll run down the water column. So you guys know what I'm going to say is my favourite Topwater lure of all time. Doesn't matter if I'm chasing jacks, bass or anything, is the splash prawn. I run the 95mm there. You can see that bad boy there. There they are on the packets there, 95mm. I absolutely love these lures. If you can't catch a fish on these lures, then I don't know what you're doing wrong. But they're just super, super simple, super natural. They cast like a bullet. They cast perfectly straight. And these 95mm come with huge, angry hooks on them. And I've never bent one out on a jack or anything. But they're a nice size, 95mm. And then you've got that tiny little cup at the front, and that just spurts a little bit of water. Like, it's a super, super natural Topwater lure. So make sure you go check out MMD. He makes some really fantastic lures. You can buy the 65mm or the 55mm little splash prawns. They're good as well. I've caught some jacks on them, but again, the hooks are a lot smaller. It's a lot smaller lure. So definitely the 95 is my pick. My second lure that I like to throw around for topwater for jacks is a Bass Day Backfire. Little 65 mil, a little bit smaller. It's quite a small little popper, but that little cup on the front pushes so much water and it makes such a good poppy noise that it's really impressive. The hooks aren't great, so you probably could upgrade those if you do hook that kind of 50, 60 centimeter trophy size jack. Probably going to bend those ones out, but I haven't had any troubles with them yet. And again, they cast like a bullet, nice and straight, big pop for a little lure. Bass Day Backfire. So some honourable mentions. So this is the stuff I like to use. So this is just a general guide. All I'm going to say is go find lures that you like to throw. Just because someone's catching fish on this type of lure, you go use it. Like I use lures that Dave doesn't like. Dave uses a lot of lures that I don't like. Lucky Craft G-Splash. You guys know Mick Horn. He's made those lures famous for up on the Gold Coast. I don't like them. I think they sink too much in the water and they just push way too much water and they're not buoyant enough to get up and make a pop. But they work for him, so it's just a rough guide. This is what I use. So what I use mightn't work for you guys and vice versa. But, you know, it's just a little guide that hopefully you guys can pick up a little bit of information on. So a few other lures that you can throw around are like fizzers. This is a Rapala. Fizzer is like a topwater, and you've got that little prop in the back there. You would have seen John Costello throwing these things, and they just make a brr, brr noise. Terrible, I know, but anyway. Yeah, I mean, I like them. I have thrown this around a little bit, but obviously not in any time soon since there's not even any hooks on it. Prop on the front there too. Like, they make a good commotion and stuff, but I'm trying to cut down on the amount of lures I use. I like to key in on what lures that I like to use, what works for me, and pretty much just use your confidence lures, because, you know, you can just get stuck in the trap of just spending thousands of dollars on lures. You use it once, you throw it in your tackle box, you never use it again. So why not invest that money in buying more of the lures that you're actually going to use and that you feel confident using, because that makes a huge difference when you're out in the water. You don't want to waste those precious low light periods of time using a lure that you've never used or you're not quite sure on. Like, use those confidence baits at the right time and you'll be ripping some lips. And then another honourable mention, little Xeric Walkers there. Skittish dog this one is. You know, just a bigger profile walk the dog. They work really well as well. But again, I'm always going to be throwing that splash prawn. It's my favourite. It's just the best in my opinion. So I like to use that. Sometimes I'll chuck the Backfire on, or just depends the situation. But yeah, honourable mention. They're pretty good as well. But yeah, there's buckets and buckets of tons of lures out there. You guys know whopper ploppers. Obviously, you got frogs. So frogs don't work anywhere on the north coast for me. Again, you want those frogs to be skipped up into those little mangrove fingers, where, you know, you see Drew M up on the Henchbrook canals and stuff, and that's where he's made his frog and made it all famous. And there they are there. But you throw a frog around here for a jack, and you'd have to be extremely lucky to get one, because we just don't have that type of structure that the frogs need to skip you up into. So yeah, it's just something to think about when you're fishing. You need to be a little bit mindful. Look at the structure that you're fishing in and what lure is going to work in that scenario. Whew. I was trying to make this video short. Get me to start talking on fishing, man, I'll go forever. Anyway, so let's go on to some hard bodies. Again, like I said, I'm trying to cut down my lures, and these are the confidence lures that I like to use. So my hard bodies that I like to use are XD, Lucky Craft XD pointers. Supernatural, I'm not sure the size here, but they're about that 10 centimeter mark, something like that, 4 inch or something like that. Yeah, like I said, these lures work for me. They cast well, they swim nice and straight, they've got a nice big big there, so if you're fishing rock bars and stuff, it's just going to bounce off all the rocks. And yeah, I normally just run a couple of different colours. Top one's real natural, so I'll fish that in more clearer water. That bottom one, gold, always a real well in like dirty colour water. And if you can find a gold hard body with an orange underbelly in dirty water, that's absolute dynamite. The jacks go mental for them. Another honourable mention, if you're struggling to catch a fish, just downsize your lure. I also use these bad boys, the old Jackal Squirrel. This is in the 67mm in the pink eye, my favourite colour. And like I said, if I'm struggling to catch a fish, like there's not that much difference between profile, but sometimes it can just make a bit of a difference. So yeah, Jackal Squirrels, it's been around forever. Everyone catches jacks on them. Good quality lure, casts well, bounces off everything. Pretty good. So yeah, there's plenty of lures out there. So there's plenty of hard body lures out there. They're pretty much the two that I just run, Lucky Craft Pointer and the Squirrels. You know, you can get the Samaki Reddicks. They're really good as well. They're a little bit of a shallower diver, a little bit cheaper too. So if you want to check those out. Rapala do some really nice ones. The Jack Deep are really good. I do have one somewhere, but it's got like a bit more of a square bib on it. I really like square bibs for bouncing off stuff. So... But yeah, there's plenty of them out there. Like I said, just find the lure that's in your budget and the lure that you feel comfortable fishing with. If you're having any troubles with your lures as well, make sure it's got a split ring on the front. Some of these Lucky Craft come with just the wire there. You do need to run a little wire. All right, so let's quickly run through some soft plastics that I like to use. So I like to use a variety of soft plastics for my jacks. And I love to fish weedless. So I jumped on eBay and just typed in weedless hooks, and I found these things here. Instead of buying the expensive Gomagatsu weedless ones. I can't remember the price, but they work out real cheap. These are about 6 grams. What I love about these is you can see that weight in the middle there. So when you're fishing a prawn, it's going to be really, really natural. I don't like to use those TT headlock ones with the swivel thing. I don't like that at all. I think it's too many moving components. It doesn't look natural. Lure always fouls up, and you've got the weight at the front. So when do you ever see a prawn nosedive into the bottom of the mud? It's just not natural. So I like to run plastics like weedless hooks like that. They got a little screw point on there, and you just screw it in, and then I'll just show you. Well, here's my pre-rigged one. So there it is there. So yeah, you put that little metal bit, you screw it all the way up, you measure up where that hook comes out, and then you just pop it straight in, and then you're ready for action. Bang. That was terrible, but anyway, you get the idea of it. But what I like about these, like I said, that's going to come straight down, super natural. That tail's just going to beat. Skipping's just awesome. You skip it right up in the back of the snags there, roll it out, and if there's a jack in there that's willing to eat it, it's going to absolutely inhale those. So lures that I like to use. So my weedless prawn setups, I like to use the Irukandji prawns. Really like the 4-inch. Haven't had much luck on the 3-inch yet. Only because of the hook size there. Those hooks that I've got are a little bit better for the 4-inch. But I love these prawns. Super durable, but I absolutely love the colors. That color up top, a motor oil color with a bit of gold fleck, is absolute dynamite in all color water. I just find them super, super natural, and with those jig heads, they just nice and slow drop, and oh man, they're, in my opinion, the best weedless prawn presentation that you can find. Alright, so my weedless plastics, I like to fish 4.5-inch Molex RT shads or 3.5-inch RT shads. Just a super, super natural profile bait. I've been running these guys for years, and I love them. Nice big paddle tail, but not too big where they get fouled up a lot. They run really, really well on a weedless hook. Skip them right up in there and roll them out. So again, like lures, these work for me. It might be different for you guys. Munros do some really cool paddles as well. I have a fair bit of luck on them on the 4-inch plastics, and the 2-stroke color, which is like a kind of a red motor oil color. I like to use the old trusty Holt prawns, the 3 to 4-inch. These guys, you can rig them weedless, but I'd rather use the Irukandjis. I use the Holt prawns more for when the tide's coming out a little bit and you got a nice bit of fallen timber sitting on a nice gutter. I like to fish the Holt prawns in that gutter around the front of the snag there. I've caught quite a few good jacks doing that technique. So yeah, I just feel like the weedless, because of the back legs, you got to kind of cut a leg out, and they just don't sit as well as the irukandji. So I do love my Holt prawns. James has helped me out a lot, but running weedless is a little bit harder than the other prawns. So yeah, I like to use them around the snags. Mentos, obviously, he uses them up there, skips them right up into the mangroves. I'm yet to run some of these. I've had a little bit of a play around with the white colours, but white just doesn't seem to really work very well in my system. So hopefully in the near future we can throw some pinkies out. Super durable, and yeah, they look really, really good. So that's pretty much it for my plastics, to be honest, guys. I mean, you'll see me with a few different other plastics throughout my videos. I am quite liking the irukandji 4-inch paddles as well. Again, nice big paddle, nice body roll. They're a little bit tricky to get weedless, but if you can get them weedless, then yeah, they're really, really good as well. So that's almost it. All right. All right, so we've done rods, reels, braid, leader. We've done lures. So my top 3 tips would be for jack fishing. Number 3 would have to be structure. Make sure you're fishing in the right areas. You're not going to catch a mangrove jack out on a sandbar fishing where flathead hang out. Jacks are very structure orientated. They're going to be in the mangroves, rock bars, pontoons. Again, depends where you live. You just got to get out there. When you catch one, take a mental note of when you caught it, what the temperature was doing, and what structure that fish was sitting on. And then you can just find patterns and replicate it. But just because you've perfect conditions come up, doesn't mean you're always going to catch them. So my number 2 tip for jacks would be check over your gear. Make sure all your knots are perfect. Make sure those FG knots are tight. Make sure your drag on your reels is overly tight. If you hook a good jack, they won't hesitate to put you into a snag. So this is quite tight. So I like to run it where I'm really pushing that 20-pound leader and that 20-pound braid. So I'll run it real tight. Because once a jack hits it, it's on. So make sure you check out your gear. Make sure everything's all good. Make sure your knots are perfect. Make sure all your hooks, all rust, like no rust on them. Make sure you got the right size hooks on there. Check out your hard body. If you do change your hooks on your hard bodies, even your split rings, you'd be amazed how much difference that makes in your action of your lure. So with a hard body, you want it to be a suspending lure, so that way it's sitting right in front of their face. If it's like you can do a slow sink one, slow float one, which is good if it's a real timbered area, kind of goes over all the logs and stuff. But a suspending lure where it sits right in their face is what you want. So sometimes if you upgrade a hook, it might sit kind of like that, which is not natural, and you're probably not going to get fish. So take your time. If the weather's not very good and you've got to catch up on replacing some hooks and lures, go do it, and then go down and then just sit them in water down at the river, have a look at them, make sure you're happy with absolutely everything, because a jack will find any kind of weakness or any excuse not to eat your lures. So you need to make sure all your gear is absolutely perfect and make sure that drag is absolutely locked. All right, my number 1 tip for mangrove jack fishing, and this goes for all fishing in general: get out there and give it a bloody crack. You're not going to catch fish, you're not going to catch a jack by sitting here watching this video. I appreciate it, but go fishing. I work full time, and you guys know how much I love my fishing, and I'm out there as much as I possibly can because I'm obsessed with it. I love my fishing. It's a great hobby, and as frustrating as it can be, it's just so rewarding when those stars align and you catch those fish that you want. But I know time can be a bit tough for some, and weather is not great, but try and get out there as much as you possibly can. If you're going to work, chuck a rod in the car. Like the amount of times I've caught good fish just going to work or on a break at work, it's like, oh yeah, I'll take a rod, and I bang a 50 centimeter jack on my break. It's just like, you just never know when you're going to catch that fish. And that's what I meant before, is you might have all the conditions right, all your gear, everything clicks into place, but doesn't mean the fish are going to be eating. So just try and get out there as much as you possibly can. The more time you put in the water, the more fish you're going to catch. That's all it is. So you guys watch at home, and I get a lot of messages like, oh, you catch a lot of fish. It's like, I fish a lot. Like, you guys see me catch fish. You don't see all the little casts in between, because there's a lot of them. Trust me, there's a lot. It's like the lotto. You're not going to win the lotto if you don't buy a ticket. The more tickets you buy, the better chances you got. So get out there. Alright guys, well I think that's pretty much it. So if you've got any other questions that I have missed, chuck them in the comments below. Make sure you like this video and let me know if it's something that you guys want a little bit more of. I know I don't touch base on much of my gear. It's because I'm out there fishing and I'm way too excited to run through it when I'm out on the water. So when it's not so nice, I'm more than happy to jump in here and let you guys know on a little bit of information that might help you guys catch some more fish. So make sure you guys get out there, like, share, subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you guys out there. Yoo!